In the dark estate, bathed only in the pale light of the moon, Ricardo stands across from heroine Bianca. He accuses her of poisoning Maria. Bianca doesn't deny it, because if she'd gotten rid of her, everything would have fallen into place. In her mind, Ricardo was meant to be with her. That sneaky woman just clouded his judgment. She steps closer, whispering, "Let me save you." But Ricardo, gripping his sword tight, snaps, "I'll be the one to save you." Bianca's thrilled he's finally come to his senses and will come back to her. But her joy fades fast when Ricardo draws his sword and slits her throat. He's decided to kill her, so she'll never sin again. As her ex-fiancé, he'll grant Bianca her redemption. The heroine flings the book in disgust. "Can't believe this is real." The maid storms in, hearing the commotion. But Bianca doesn't want to see anyone, shoves her out. She bought this book about the Empire's history, thinking it was just some regular history chronicle. There was only one reason this trash book caught her eye. The main character's name is Ricardo, matching Bianca's fiancé's name. But later the girl stumbles upon her own name in the book. Bianca, the only daughter of the noble Crawford family, the Marquise and Marchioness of the Great Empire. She thought she'd be the hero of the story, but ends up as the villain executed in the final chapter. The sun bathes the estate's garden as Bianca and her fiancé sneak into the gazebo's shadow, sipping coffee and swapping weather banter. Ricardo Wincaster, a tall, broad-shouldered guy with flawless features. He's not just the heir to one of the most powerful duchies, he's a top-tier swordsman too. Bianca stares at her fiancé like he's the best thing since sliced bread, soaking in his deep, mesmerizing voice. Her family might not stack up to the Wincaster duchy, but they're still heavy hitters. And Bianca's no slouch herself. She's one of the Empire's top beauties. But the real hero? Her total opposite, plain Jane Maria, who later turns out to be the Marquise of Wensbury's illegitimate daughter. Maria was beautiful, sure, but she rolled into the capital from a backwater village, all rough around the edges and barely educated. And Bianca's not about to back down from a woman she'd never even heard of. Ricardo never gave Bianca the time of day, didn't show her any disdain or hate, just stayed cool as a cucumber. But in the book, he was this burning passion guy. Ricardo had never been like this with Bianca. But the worst part? She couldn't stand the scenes in the book where she and Maria were caught up in wild, all-consuming love. Still, Bianca reread those parts over and over, picking apart every detail. Whenever she thought about it, her face would flush so hard Ricardo noticed instantly. Bianca flat out asked her fiancé, "Under what circumstances could you kill someone?" He replied, "Probably in a war," and it lines up with his book version. Ricardo was a vet of 2 wars. The guy's totally confused. Why the hell would she bring that up out of nowhere? In the book, the heroine couldn't stomach the fact that Ricardo left her. Her love for him was so intense, it turned her into a jealous wreck. And in the end, she took out every bit of that anger on Maria. Bianca was ready to kill her just to get Ricardo back. But she can't bring herself to tell her fiancé any of this. So she just says, "Forget about it." Then Ricardo drops this, "I'd kill someone only if they hurt someone I care about." His words give her the creeps, and suddenly the book's final scene flashes through her mind. Ricardo's starting to think Bianca's off her game today. First she flushes, now she's all pale like a ghost. She's caught off guard by his sudden concern. As he leaves the gazebo, the man tells her not to overexert herself and to take it easy. But Bianca doesn't believe he could genuinely care. This engagement is just a formal alliance between their families. The heroine heads to the bookstore to dig deeper into the novel she bought here 3 days ago. But to her shock, the clerk says they've never sold a book like that. He points out the book's cover doesn't have their store's official seal. When a customer takes a book, the clerk marks it by snipping the price tag, prevents mix-ups with books from other shops. Plus, in 40 years on the job, he's never seen that title before. Historical books usually list the author, and romance novels don't sell unless the title oozes romance. So he's dead certain he never sold that book to Miss Crawford. Bianca glares at him and snaps, "If you're lying, you'll pay with your life." The man insists he'd never lie to her. She figures the store needs a better way to mark their books. Instead of snipping tags, just use a marker thieves can't fake. The merchant thanks the girl for the solid advice, and she heads out of the shop. Back home, Bianca lets out a heavy sigh, standing by the bookshelf. She's been obsessed with this book for days now. A maid walks in to help her mistress get ready for Sir Wensbury's charity dinner. As she starts prepping for the event, Bianca tells herself she needs to forget that book. This whole story is just nonsense. There's no way someone as noble as Sir Wensbury would have an illegitimate kid. Besides, Ricardo wouldn't ditch Bianca for some brat. Staring at her reflection, she keeps telling herself this just isn't possible. She's already done her hair and slipped into the dress. Shoes are the only thing left. The junior maid presents her with a pair of white shoes. But Bianca is instantly unimpressed with the choice. She argues that white shoes don't match the red dress and scolds the maid. The maid's eyes go wide in fear. Silence falls over the room. Bianca realizes the maid must have her reasons. Maybe she just sees beauty differently. The senior maid promises to give the junior one a stern talking to. Bianca exhales, then calmly asks to bring her a pair of black shoes. Bianca knows the maids are scared of her, but she's never tried to win their favor. Makes things easier when they're always on edge. A little later, the heroine is already seated at the Wesbury charity dinner. The guy brags he single-handedly beheaded 33 men on the battlefield. Bianca can't believe she spent 3 hours prepping for this snooze of an event. Still, she's quick to praise Sir Wesbury for his entertaining stories. He finds it flattering to be praised by such a lovely young lady. Bianca secretly wonders how many more corpses he'll add to the tale next time. His numbers get bigger every retelling. Lord Wesbury chuckles, noting his glory days are over and the Empire's new star is Winkaiser. Ricardo humbly replies he's exaggerating. Wesbury tells the young man, who reminds him of his younger self, to stop being so modest. Then he shifts the topic, asking Ricardo and Bianca when they plan to tie the knot. Winkaiser answers they'll definitely get to it eventually. First, Bianca waited for her debutante ball to pass, then for Ricardo's return from war. Then she waited until she turned 20, hoping he'd pop the question. But 3 months have already passed since her birthday, and Ricardo hasn't asked her to marry him. Now he's saying that since their families made the promise, they should stick to it. The truth is, marriages between noble families are more about trust and alliance than actual love. But Bianca actually has real feelings for Ricardo. On the way back from dinner, the heroine suggests they talk. She brings up the topic of their marriage that was mentioned at dinner. Ricardo's expression says he couldn't care less. Bianca still suggests starting wedding preparations early. It can take forever. Ricardo doesn't show any excitement and stays calm as ever. Noticing this, the heroine asks, "Are we even getting married?" Ricardo stares at her silently for a moment, then says, "I guess so." Bianca suddenly remembers a similar scene in the book where the villainess screams, "You promised to marry me." But he continues, explaining he meant they'll try to honor the promise made to their families. She points out that since the Vincaisers and Crowfords still have the contract, he's technically her fiancé. In the book, Ricardo declared the contracts null, and they call off the engagement. Bianca recalls this scene and decides to ask, "Do you remember the dog you had as a kid?" The guy's clueless how she found out. The heroine says she heard about it, but who told her doesn't matter. In the book, when Ricardo saw Maria giving him that unconditional trust, he remembered his childhood dog, the first living thing he ever trusted or loved. So the heroine, just like Maria in the novel, suggests they get a dog of the same breed after they marry. He refuses. No one ever could replace his loyal dog, and Bianca shouldn't even try to fill someone else's shoes. The girl slams open the library doors in a rage. She grabs that cursed book. It's starting to feel like a prophecy to her. Bianca won't believe she's the villain. It's pure nonsense to her. Anger fuels Bianca's urge to tear the book apart, but it won't budge for some reason. She hurls the book into the fireplace, determined to burn it to ashes. 10 minutes pass, the book still won't catch. She pulls the book from the flames. It looks newer, cleaner than ever. If the book's right, the heroes will meet on St. George's Day, fall in love, and Bianca's just there to wreck it. But Bianca won't let that happen. Why should she die? She's got beauty, money, status. This doesn't make sense. The heroine is flopping on the couch, rereading the book for the 3rd time today when there's a knock at the door. The housemaids come in to help the lady get ready, and she sets the novel down. In the book, Bianca's selfish, convinced Ricardo loves her. He doesn't, spends like crazy, and thinks she's the most beautiful woman alive. She's a villain who yells at people, looks down on lower status folks, and insists she's always right. Now, though, when the senior maid asks what the lady wants to wear, Bianca shrugs like it doesn't matter. And when the younger one asks what hairstyle to do, she just says, "Brush my hair and be done with it." The heroine can't wrap her head around how someone like her could be a villain. Plus, she doesn't see anything wrong with blowing her own money. Bianca just finds it weird this book is twisting obvious facts. When it's time to pick shoes, she asks the maid if she likes the ones she suggested yesterday. The girl gets so scared of the mistress's anger, she starts bombarding her with apologies. Bianca's head spins from the maid's sob stories. She's convinced she's about to be fired. The maid breaks into tears, terrified of being left with nothing. But Bianca, after confirming the maid's name, picks out the shoes, thanks her, and orders her to be given a silver coin as a reward. Then the heroine tells Pana to send the butler to her. When the butler walks in, Bianca asks him to check up on someone. She needs as much info as possible on a commoner from Encini named Maria Villona. The butler's mind's spinning at the order, but he just asks what exactly his lady wants to know. First things first, confirm if the girl even exists. Then dig into her age, looks, if her mom's sick, and whether Maria's planning to move to the capital. Since the girl's the illegitimate daughter of Sir Wensbury in the book, their relationship needs checking too. After jotting it all down, the butler asks if there's anything else he can do. Bianca asks if he's heard anything about her reputation. Madame Crawford's reputation's spotless, he says. Madame's a looker, elegant, sharp as a tack, and the Empire's top society's golden rose. But Bianca's not interested in fluff. She wants to hear what the staff thinks of her personality. All staff adore their madam, the butler says, but Bianca's got a hunch he's buttering her up. She sends him off, reminding him to give Pan the maid a silver coin. The butler asks if the girl did something special to earn it. Remembering Pan's tears, Bianca short answers, "Something like that." As a final gesture, the heroine asks the guy to send the leftover bread home to the maid. Left alone, she realizes her actions clearly aren't coming off right, and maybe, just like in the book, she's becoming the villain everyone expects. Bianca suddenly notices the book on the table starts glowing out of nowhere. At first, she's nervous it might blow up, but when the light dims, she grabs it. Then she locks in, something's off. The story just changed. Originally, the book ended with Ricardo and Maria kissing passionately after Bianca's death. But now the text keeps going, spelling out what happens after that. No grass grows on the villain's grave, and folks avoid it like it's cursed. Only the maid Bianca once showed kindness to placed a flower there, and it withered to death. Probably Pan. Bianca's been a total nightmare to every other servant. She always thought her relationship with the staff was strictly about handing out paychecks. But now it's hitting her. Maybe she got this whole dynamic wrong. The story shifted because she did something she's never done. Actually, be nice to someone. The thought energizes her. She yells for the maid and slaps her with a carriage order. Bianca's decided it's finally time to do something good. She's storming toward the orphanage. As she bolts out of the room, the heroine orders her checkbook brought to her and for a bunch of cash to be ready. The carriage arrives at the orphanage, and soon Lady Crawford's carriage pulls up. She steps out and scopes out the building, which looks way nicer than she thought. Panya can't hide her surprise. She thought her mistress hated visiting places this rundown. Just then, two girls approach Bianca, asking if she's looking for someone. Panya explains her mistress wants to speak with the orphanage director. The older girl darts inside to fetch the director. Bianca's about to head inside, but the maid figures it's too much for the mistress. Suddenly, the heroine notices the younger orphan standing nearby, staring at her intensely. The girl gathers her courage and asks Bianca, "Are you a princess?" Panya tries to explain she's Lady Crawford, but the girl insists Bianca looks like a real princess. Not wanting to hurt the girl's feelings, Bianca replies, "I'm almost a princess." Even though the heroine doesn't get why she just said that, the girl suddenly grabs her hand. She yanks Bianca after her, and Panya panics. What if the orphan's hands are dirty? Even though her hands are definitely dirty, the heroine catches herself not feeling even a bit of disgust. Shelter director Leon Sparta asks Lady Crawford why she's here. The woman can't believe it when the girl says she's here to support their shelter. She thanks Bianca, but it's all so unexpected that Leon can't find the right words. In exchange for her help, the heroine asks the director to spread the word that Lady Crawford is sponsoring the shelter. Since Leon isn't exactly sure what she needs to do, the heroine explains further. Little Lala, who won't budge an inch from Bianca's side, is totally amazed by the awesome princess visiting them. The heroine is dead set on improving her public image and showing everyone she's no villain. And the best way to do that, sponsorship. The shelter director promises to do as Bianca wants, and the girl immediately pulls out her checkbook. After wrapping up all the business, Leon and Lala go out to see their benefactor off. The woman, with tears in her eyes, "Thanks, Miss Crawford. These funds will cover building repairs and new clothes for the kids." She doesn't know how to repay Bianca's kindness, but Bianca tells her not to stress over it. It's just a small thing for her. Leon promises to spread the word about Bianca's act. Suddenly, Ricardo comes out to meet them, and the heroine stops, totally confused why he's here. Before she can say a word, he cuts in, demanding where Bianca is, like she's not even supposed to be here. The heroine's totally lost. Doesn't this guy realize who she is? Why's he flipping out at her? She doesn't get a chance to answer before Lala leaps in to defend her. The kids all fired up, swearing anyone who dares glare at the princess is getting added to the big jerk list, even if it's Ricardo. Sure, Bianca's had 100 nights watching her back before, but never felt this level of safety. Lala's not slowing down, calls Ricardo an idiot and a total prick, not letting him get a word in edgewise. Bianca smirks, guessing he should probably back off at this point. Later, in the director's office, Ricardo apologizes, explaining he thought she was following him. She waves it off. No big deal, she says, while secretly thinking the future Duke shouldn't apologize so easily. Ricardo's confused. Why's Bianca suddenly footing the bill for the orphanage? The Crawfords don't do charity. She tells him it's her own idea, her own call. From the kids knowing his name, she figures he's been coming around a lot. He says yeah, it's true, but the kids don't know he's nobility, which is why he's dressed so plain. The orphans think he's just a badass sword guy. He's been teaching the boys how to swing a blade. Plenty of commoners become knights. Even if they don't hit the top ranks, they still get a solid shot at a stable life. Bianca thinks this sounds like a solid plan. Ricardo's not just handing out cash to orphans, but actually teaching them how to make a living. As a famed swordsmith in the Empire, his students get real skills, and his recommendation letters could boost their careers later. The heroine wonders if the girls get to learn swordplay too. But let's face it, it's tough for girls to break into knight stuff, so most don't even try hard. The orphanage director says once they hit adulthood, most either get married or hit the streets to find work. Without special skills, they're basically scraping by on whatever odd jobs they can find. Bianca can't even imagine little Lal in that kind of mess. Just thinking about it gives her a pang in the chest. She's honestly confused why she's suddenly so worked up over a kid she just met. It just doesn't seem fair that boys get a shot at being knights while girls are stuck scraping by. But Ricardo's got a point. Being a knight isn't all glory. Wars are brutal. People die, homes get destroyed, and everywhere you go, you hear screams and crying. No matter where you step, it's chaos and despair. Ricardo admits he still remembers the horror vividly. It even haunts his nightmares sometimes. His eyes look so empty right now, like they might vanish without a trace. Bianca has never seen him look this vulnerable before. He admits to funding the orphanage and teaching kids to atone for his sins, even though it's ironic to help them become knights when he knows the horrors of war. This is all he can offer. Realizing Ricardo has been suffering alone all this time, Bianca instinctively reaches for his hand. He's been feeling this way even when she thought she was the one being ignored. She's afraid she'll never understand how he sees life. Covering his hand with hers, she admits she doesn't know what to say. The move was so impulsive that she panics and pulls her hand back. But Ricardo notices her fluster and smiles. He covers her hand with his and thanks her. She blushes, her face turning bright red. For the first time since she's been trying to make him marry her, Ricardo says those words. He admits he saw Bianca in a whole new light today. According to her, it's the longest conversation they've ever had. Ricardo takes her hand again and suggests they go. Bianca's held his hand plenty of times before, but she can't remember it ever feeling this warm. Walking out of the room, she remembers Sir Wensbury's hosting a ball soon, and Ricardo promised to show up and walk her there. Ricardo notices Bianca's blushing, cups her face with his hand, and asks if she's feeling sick. Her heart is hammering so hard from the closeness that she shoves Ricardo away, insisting she's just fine. She just can't stop thinking about how he was staring straight at her, not off to the side like he usually did. Flustered, she bolts outside as fast as she can. But even with her back turned, she can feel Ricardo's eyes on her, and her heart's hammering like crazy. Bianca's got no idea if this is a good sign or a bad omen. Sitting in the carriage, she lets out such a heavy sigh that Pani asks if something's bugging her. In reality, Bianca's got every reason to worry. Yesterday, the steward gave her info about Maria. The girl is real, but it's not confirmed yet if she's Wensbury's illegit. Maria's living with her sick, widowed mom. Wensbury went to Ankini to recover from his war injury, and the maid taking care of him was Maria's mom. All these facts check out with the book. There's a solid chance the rest is true too. If it's true, Bianca's death could be coming way sooner than she'd hoped, and it's driving her nuts. The carriage stops at a bookstore, and the main character heads inside. The shopkeeper beams as he greets the girl and announces he's been waiting for Lady Crawford's return. He proudly shows her the new book press he crafted based on her advice. The main character says she came to buy a book, so she asks the shopkeeper to pick out something about war injuries, psychological treatment, and panic disorders. The shopkeeper's amazed at her endless thirst for knowledge, but she cuts the fluff and tells him to bring every book he has. Bianca's ready to buy out the whole store. As the shopkeeper piles up the books, the main character spots a story titled The Dandelion Princess's Adventures on one of the shelves. Bianca instantly thinks of Lal, the kind of book she'd love. Lal's obsessed with princesses, like when she ran off to save one from Ricardo. Bianca figures it's about time she rewarded that little troublemaker, and a thought pops into her head, making her grin. She heads over to the shopkeeper, who's clearly worn out from lugging all those books to her carriage. And then she drops a bomb. She's buying every fairy tale from the shelf she just checked out. Arriving at the orphanage, Bianca runs into Ricardo again. The kids watch as the guy tells Lady Crawford he pops in 2 or 3 times a week. When asked why Bianca herself came back here again, she says she just picked up a couple of books. But when Ricardo peeks over her shoulder, he sees just how many books are really in the carriage. He decides to go get the kids to help unload the presents. When the heroine notices a bead of sweat trickling down his neck, she catches herself staring at him like she can't look away. A few minutes later, the kids are helping unload the books, non-stop thanking Lady Crawford for them. When Lala hears she's back, she bolts over to Princess Bianca like her boots are on fire. She latches onto the heroine, burying her face in Bianca's voluminous skirt. As Lala puts it, the second Nicole said Lady Crawford arrived, she sprinted over from the backyard to see her. The kid won't stop showering Bianca with compliments about how stunning she is, and Bianca just says, "I know." The heroine catches Ricardo snickering when he hears that, but she's totally clueless why that's so funny. Lala whispers in her ear, "If Ricardo gives you more trouble, just say the word and I'll handle him." Even though the heroine doubts a sweet little cutie like her could scare someone like Ricardo, the kid insists she's terrifying. To prove it, Lala starts growling like she's trying to scare Bianca, except she just looks even cuter doing it. Ricardo grabs her from behind, lifts her up, and starts tickling her like he's rescuing Bianca from a little tiger. He tells her to stop pestering the princess, but Lal says she was trying to protect her. The heroine watches, mesmerized, as Ricardo chats up the little girl. Suddenly, the guy turns to her, saying how lucky the princess is to have Lal on her side, and offers Bianca his hand. Seeing them hold hands, the little girl cries out, "I've heard about this in fairy tales." That's the part where the knight saves the princess. So now Lal thinks Ricardo isn't a villain. He's a knight. The girl looks at them adoringly and asks, "Are you two gonna get married?" The heroine's mind races. What if the princess is really the villain and she's doomed? But then she overhears Ricardo telling Lal, "Yeah, maybe that's exactly what'll happen." Then he asks the little girl if she'll come to their wedding, and she beams, "Count me in." Nicole comes out of the building, calling Lal over to see the princess books Bianca brought. The kid instantly leaps from Ricardo's arms and bolts after her older pal. As soon as the girls vanish, Bianca turns to Ricardo and asks, "Why'd you say that?" But Ricardo shrugs. "Why can't I say it? The whole kingdom knows it's gonna happen." Yet the heroine thinks he's not into marriage, and she tells him so. Every time they brought up marriage, he'd just give one-word answers and stay neutral. It wasn't like he was careless. Bianca just felt he didn't care about marrying her. Now Ricardo's talking about marriage with a smile on his face, and Bianca can't figure out what made him change his mind. He admits he wasn't exactly excited about it, but he never said he wouldn't go through with it. Bianca's so shocked by his words, she can barely process what he just said. When Ricardo says it again, Bianca blows up, demanding to know who he thinks he is. Lala interrupts, bursting in with a book and begging them to read her a story. Bianca, still caught up in the tension, asks why the kid can't just read it herself. Lala replies she doesn't know how. Bianca's confused. She doesn't get what the little girl means. Then Lala admits she can't read. When Ricardo asks why she didn't just ask Nicole, Lala says she wants the princess to do it. Ricardo ruffles Lala's hair and promises Bianca will read the story later. When Lala's gone, he explains most common folk don't learn to read until they're older, because no one teaches them. Bianca's stunned these kids don't have nannies and tutors. Ricardo points out that in regular families, moms usually raise the kids, or they just grow up on their own. Orphans like Lala either pick up reading later or never get the chance. But Bianca won't let a cute kid like Lala grow up that way. Bianca's so focused on Lala that Ricardo has to snap her out of it and mention they were discussing the wedding. But right now, Bianca's got bigger fish to fry. Kids' education matters way more to her. Ricardo used to think Bianca didn't care for kids, but now she's all over it. She just doesn't go out of her way unless the kids come to her first. Ricardo can't keep his shock in check and ends up standing too close to Bianca. She turns her back and announces she's off to speak with the director. Bianca's heading over to tell Leanne about boosting funds for teachers at the orphanage. As the carriage heads back to the Crawford estate, the driver's scratching his head, confused as hell. Bianca's trying to figure out what the heck is going on. The horse just won't budge, probably from dragging all those books. Hearing that, Ricardo pipes up. He'll personally take Lady Bianca to Crawford. The driver thanks him, but Bianca's fuming he didn't even check with her. Then she sighs and apologizes to Ricardo for the trouble she caused. They sit in the carriage on the way to the estate, quiet for a moment. Then Ricardo raises an eyebrow at how many books the girl's bringing along. Bianca shrugs it off. She just reads a lot, that's all. Ricardo's heard rumors about her love of books, but these military injury manuals? That's new. Seems odd for a lady to be into that stuff, and Bianca already wishes she'd left those books in the carriage. She insists she bought those books purely out of curiosity, and it's got nothing to do with him. Ricardo stares at her, caught off guard. She just contradicted everything he was about to say. Later, back at his place, Vin Kaiser replays the day in his head. He's got to admit, it's actually kinda nice seeing Bianca in a whole new light today. Beautiful, high and mighty, power-hungry noblewoman. The fiancé destined to marry him and give him an heir because of some family promise. Ricardo smirks. Turns out Bianca doesn't hate kids after all. Remembers this one time at some party they were both invited to. Some little girl stuck her hand straight into the cake. Everyone around, including Ricardo himself, was moved by the scene. Only Bianca declared the girl was causing chaos with her behavior. Ricardo figured all kids act this way, it's totally normal. He didn't like Bianca's reaction, and she noticed it, though she didn't get what was up. Back then, Ricardo dreamed of a happy family life with a loving wife and a cute kid. He wanted to pass his title to the Vinkaiser heir and lay low with his family in some quiet, secluded spot. But no one could take the heir spot, and though the village plan had to wait, his family dreams stuck, even through the horrors of war. But ever since Bianca got set up as his bride, he knew it wouldn't happen. She only ever cared about the title. That's what Ricardo thought until he started noticing how much the girl had changed. Now he's starting to think Bianca was always this way. He just only saw her one side. Every time he pictured his family, his future wife's face was always a blur. But now it's clicking. He's starting to see Bianca's features in her clearer than ever. That's why he decides to start planning the wedding. Bianca heard from the butler that Maria's a beautiful, kind young lady who stays cheerful despite her circumstances. Growing up without a dad must have been rough, and she probably dealt with poverty and teasing too. She was doing her best to push through the rough patches, but no matter how hard Maria studied, her potential was capped, and her finances kept hitting dead ends. Plus, her single mom was working herself to the bone, and it didn't take long before she caught a bad illness. But Maria stayed strong, taking care of her sick mom with a smile on her face. Reading this report, the heroine can't wrap her head around why she'd need to kill a girl who clearly needed help. She's just like Panyu, who's got to look after her dad and little brother. And Lal, who's always grinning. But the thought of someone as sweet as Maria turning her into the villain gives the heroine the creeps. She'll steal Ricardo's heart and start threatening Bianca's safety. The girl's stuck. She can't save Maria, but she can't kill her either. A few days later, the heroine heads to Sir Wensbury's ball. The guests are all staring. Today, the girl looks absolutely stunning. According to Lady Evelyn, no matter how much she primped, she could never be as elegant as Miss Crawford. The heroine smirks and says, "Ma'am, you're just flattering me." The girl catches Lady Evelyn's calculating gaze. Lady Evelyn's heard whispers about Bianca's new charity obsession, and the heroine confirms it. Evelyn points out that the Crawford family doesn't usually care about this kind of thing. They stick to more practical values. When the girl says it's her own idea, the woman says she's got a big heart. Looks like the shelter director kept her word and spilled the beans about Bianca's deed to everyone. The heroine's thrilled that news of her kindness will blow through the empire like wildfire. Lady Evelyn says Vinkaiser got lucky marrying a girl like her, but Bianca counters she's not so sure. Ricardo, who just walked up, catches the tail end of their chat. They exchange polite greetings full of social graces. Wishing the couple a good time and winking playfully, she leaves them alone. Watching her go, Bianca thinks the rumors'll fly way faster than she expected. A few rumors about the girl reached Ricardo too, and he tells her. He heard she's not just helping orphans, she's also pitching in at homeless shelters and old folks' homes. Bianca smiles, admits it's a new hobby of hers. But Ricardo brings up their chat at the shelter when she told him orphans were her thing. So now he's wondering what's up, why the sudden interest in doing good? The rage in his eyes says it all. Ricardo wants to know Lady Crawford's real motives. This actually helps her cause, and she says she's got plenty of cash. Plus, she's always been a decent person. The thing is, the heroine's not about to let this chance slip by to show off to everyone around her. Ricardo says, "Guess I didn't know you as well as I thought," and his face turns beet red. He grabs her hand and asks her to dance. She's caught off guard by his sudden attitude shift. He's never been a fan of dancing. She nods and slips her hand into his. The crowd of aristocrats can't wait to see the dance-off between Lord Vinkaiser and Lady Crawford. Bianca's favorite tune starts playing in the ballroom, and she lets Ricardo know. They start twirling, drawing oohs and ahs from the crowd. But Maria's on Bianca's mind, and she's dying to dig up more dirt on her from Sir Wensbury. She knows it's not exactly polite to come out and ask. Ricardo catches the distant look in his fiancé's eyes and asks where her head's at. She blushes and tries to dodge the question. He tells her to keep her eyes on him while they dance. Bianca's confused. Why is Ricardo suddenly all up in her personal space? They never locked eyes like this before. He always looked through her like she wasn't even there, and though she used to make eye contact with him, her gaze slowly drifted to his collar. Suddenly, the heroine notices Ricardo staring straight at her, unblinking. He catches her looking, smirks, and says, "This feels way better. Something about this doesn't feel right. This isn't the Ricardo she's known for years." He whispers her name, pulls her in close by the waist, and murmurs how stunning she looks tonight. The music ends, and the crowd erupts in applause. Bianca mumbles an excuse about fixing her makeup and slips away. Staring into the bathroom mirror, flushed and flustered, Bianca tries to figure out what's gotten into Ricardo. Could it be something she did today finally made him notice? But that doesn't make sense. She's been beautiful for their 10-year engagement. He can't just suddenly fall for her out of nowhere. She tells herself Ricardo must be mistaken. As she steps out of the bathroom, a voice calls her from behind. She recognizes that annoying voice and tries to lose him in the crowd without turning around. But a hand grabs her shoulder, stopping her cold. Pink-haired guy grabs Bianca's attention, begging her not to ghost him and not to wreck his heart. Bianca spins around and gets a face full of Prince Azelblant Cardigant. She gives him the royal treatment with a polite greeting, but he slaps down the formal stuff and tells her to just use his name. Bianca tells him she's not some disrespectful peasant who dares skip the titles for a crown prince. Azelblant grins at her, teasing, "You used to be way less shy about this back in the day." Bianca crosses her arms, asking dryly, "If you're not gonna act like a proper royal, then what's with the dramatic entrance?" Same old tug-of-war starts up, him wanting casual, her clinging to proper titles like a lifeline. Bianca's about to cut and run, figuring he's got no real reason to keep yapping. Azelblant snatches her sleeve and stumbles through some half-baked plan to stall her. His brain finally clicks. "Hey, Lady Crawford, let's hit the dance floor." Bianca sees through the flimsy excuse, but it's the only thing that'll work in this mess. Either way, she's trapped. No one says no to a future king and gets away with it. Just as Bianca steps closer to shake his hand, Ricardo's voice slams into her from behind. He freezes mid-walk, spotting the prince standing there. Next thing, his eyes drop like a meteor to her hand in Azelblant's grip. Ricardo drops to one knee before the prince and bows respectfully. Azel tells the lord they haven't seen in forever to get up off his knees. The prince chuckles, pointing out that quiet Ricardo hasn't changed a bit. Still holding Bianca's hand, he motions for her to follow him into the ballroom. Before she can answer, Ricardo's hand settles over her fingers. He pulls her in, apologizes to the prince, and announces that she's his dance partner for the night. Azel isn't about to argue that they've been official partners since their engagement. Everyone in the empire knows that. Ricardo, expression hardening, declares that Bianca's dancing with him tonight. End of story. Bianca stares at her fiancé in confusion as he fixes the crown prince with a look of pure disdain. Even as Azel points out Ricardo already danced with Bianca, the guy isn't backing down. A back and forth starts between them. Azel's got that smug edge in his voice, Ricardo's all business. Azel throws every charm at Ricardo, but the guy's not budging. Azel's scratching his head trying to figure why Ricardo's so dead set on this, but all he gets is, "Bianca's dancing with me or no one." Aesel reminds her he asked for the dance before Ricardo even showed up, and he extends a hand again. But Bianca's future husband isn't about to bet on her taking him up on that. The prince is getting worked up trying to prove the girl held his hand, but Ricardo stays cool as a cucumber. They both turn to Bianca, eyes locked on her like she's got the answer. Bianca's face is all red and she's got no idea what to say. Just as things are about to explode, the prince's aide marches up and drops a bombshell. It's time for him to go. The prince swears he just got here, but the man says he's been hanging around for 53 minutes and should have been back at the castle doing his royal duties 15 minutes ago. Ricardo and Bianca say their goodbyes so fast and in perfect sync that it actually gives the prince a pause. He heads out, tossing a casual quip over his shoulder in his usual laid-back style. Once the prince is out of sight, Bianca exhales in relief. His aide just saved them from an awkward mess. Ricardo smirks, offers Bianca his hand, and calls her his dear bride, motioning to go back to the hall. Bianca's confused. When the hell did he start calling her that? Bianca shivers and Ricardo raises an eyebrow. "Everything okay?" he asks. Bianca whispers, "Did you really just call me that?" He replies in a hushed tone, "Yeah, I did." Even though he's never used that term before, Ricardo announces his intention to make it a habit starting now. Bianca stares at the man across from her and starts to think he must have eaten something funny. She's half convinced the tea they drank at the orphanage was laced with something weird. Ricardo's at it again, third time asking her to dance. She checks if he's okay since he's never been into this before. Ricardo says he's still not a fan of dancing. Just if he doesn't dance with Bianca, someone else will. She's blushing because Ricardo's in her face again. When she asks which guys he means, Ricardo points out every guy who's been eyeing Bianca since she walked in, like the host's own son, Sir Wensbury's kid, his bodyguard who's been sneaking glances at her, even that 60-year-old count checking out the charming Lady Crowford. Ricardo's got no doubts about Bianca's charm and asks if it's always been like this. Bianca says yeah, it's pretty entertaining. She's the most beautiful girl in the empire, from a super wealthy, powerful family, so she's declaring herself the perfect woman. Ricardo's taken aback by her self-confidence. She says he's the only one who ever treated her like trash. Lord Vincazor can't believe he actually treated Bianca that way. And the girl smiles again, reiterating her words. After thinking it through, Ricardo asks if Bianca is mad at him. The heroine never stops smiling and zings him right back. Though she claims she's not angry, Ricardo knows it's not true. Bianca finds the whole thing embarrassing and feels unworthy of better treatment. Thinking about how she almost married a guy who never even liked her, she's almost grateful for that cursed book. She's Bianca Crawford, she's got zero reason to put up with this. But before she can say a word, Ricardo cuts in, saying he's never seen her this angry. Lately, he's been seeing his fiancée in a totally new light, and it's messing with his head. Bianca freezes when she sees Ricardo's wide grin for the first time. Her face goes blank with confusion, and he starts panicking. Meanwhile, she remembers the smile he used to have when he was still innocent and clueless. A few days later, Bianca shows up for her meeting with Reynard Wensbury. She apologizes for being late and hopes she didn't keep him waiting long. Reynard is Sir Wensbury's only son and heir to the Marquis title. He looks so much like his dad in his prime that folks joke he could mug for the family portrait and no one had noticed the difference. But deep down, he's nothing like the stubborn Marquis who was once a celebrated knight. The kid gives off an entirely different vibe, polite, helpful, the whole dutiful son package. Reynard insists he didn't mean to stir up confusion by asking for a private chat with Lord Vincazor's fiancée, but the way he spins it just makes things look shadier from Bianca's perspective. Reynard says he wanted to catch her at the ball, but she bailed too soon. Bianca explains she was feeling lousy that night. After that conversation, her fiancé whisked her home. This brings back memories of Ricardo's smile she's been trying to bury. Reynard's clearly worried about Bianca, but the lady waves him off, insisting everything's under control now. She can't figure out what's got Sir Wensbury so flustered, like he's sitting across from a girl he's got a crush on. Even though Reynard's 25, he's still got no ring on it. He was once set to marry the Marquis's daughter, but they called the whole thing off, and he's been alone ever since. After the usual polite small talk, Bianca cuts to the chase. Why the sudden urge to meet up? He admits the whole thing's a little awkward for him. Since Bianca's a smart cookie, he pushed past his awkwardness, hoping she could help. This annoys the heroine. She never intended to start a consulting gig. Deciding to dodge the chat, she offers to discuss it next time if Reynard's that uncomfortable. But her sneaky plan backfires. Guy's already ready to spill his guts to her. Taking a deep breath, he drops the bomb. There's an illegitimate kid in their family. Realizing how that sounded, Renard quick to clarify it's not his kid, it's his dad. Turns out the old man had a fling with a woman when he was just a kid. Head hanging low, Bianca asks if there's a chance that woman lied. But Reynard already considered that and checked her story. When the dad was young, he was recovering from injuries in a village. There, he hooked up with one of the housemaids. The kid's birth date lines up perfectly with when Wensbury was recovering. Reynard also considered the possibility she could be someone else's kid. But the girl looks just like the dad. It's impossible to ignore. He wants to bring her into the family. Reynard's mom is against it, but Marquis Wensbury'll probably force his way through. Hearing that, Bianca realizes Reynard already met Maria. Means the girl's already in the capital, and way too close for comfort. According to Reinhard, their family's prepping Maria for a society debut, but she's gonna be seriously out of her depth. The heroine notices the story in that book keeps moving forward without a hitch. She can already feel Maria's cold fingers brushing her shoulder. A chill runs down Bianca's spine. She can barely focus on Reinhard's words as he asks for her help. She asks who the girl is and hears the name Maria. No doubt about it, Bianca knows exactly where this is headed. This story's gonna lead her straight to her beheading, no questions asked. That same evening, the heroine sits in front of the open book. She's completely lost, doesn't know what to do next. If things keep going this way, Maria and Ricardo are gonna meet, and that means Bianca's dead. The thought of killing crosses her mind, but she shakes it off fast, trying to get a grip. She realizes the book's trying to stir up those dark thoughts in her head, turning her life into a nightmare. Plus, in the novel, killing Maria is the very reason Bianca dies. It's way too risky. At that moment, she remembers Ricardo's empty stare when he talked about the war. She wonders if the people he killed or made suffer haunt his dreams every night. Are all those people cursing and ranting about Ricardo? Does it mean Ricardo's still haunted by nightmares of Bianca in the book after he took her life? The heroine sits quietly over the book, trying to figure out all these questions. Just a week left until St. George's Day, and that fateful meeting with Maria is coming up fast. Bianca starts thinking, maybe there's a way to dodge death after all. Could she somehow stop it? Rearrange their paths and make sure they never fall for each other? And just like that, the heroine hits on a plan. The very next day, she runs into Ricardo. She asks him to stick around for the whole St. George's Day celebration with her. Her whole strategy is simple. Keep Ricardo glued to her side all day long. He's clearly flustered, can't even hide the blush on his face. Bianca catches this and flushes too. It's the first time she's ever seen him this way. Ricardo flirts back, but there's a catch. He says he's got another date lined up. Bianca practically leaps out of shock when she hears that. Terrified he's already met Maria, she storms over and yells for him to spill who he's really meeting. The guy tells the kids from the orphanage he promised to take them to the festival for the holiday. Bianca feels awkward about jumping to conclusions so fast. She gets even more flustered when Ricardo admits he wanted to ask her to the festival too. On the holiday day, Bianca walks to the square, holding Ricardo's hand with one arm and clutching Lala with the other, even though her first date in a total mess of a place is stressing her out. A church service is held at St. George's Church. Meanwhile, big festivals happen in city streets and villages where folks can snack on food and ride carnival games. But Bianca's never seen anything like this. She's so rattled it feels like a war zone, and she clings to Ricardo's shoulder, terrified. The guy smiles and tells her it's just a festival. Still, she pictured something totally different: music, dancing, not this chaos. Lala tugs Bianca's arm, giggling, and begs the princess to follow her. But Bianca thinks she's not ready yet and tells the kid to wait a little longer. Looking closer, Bianca realizes the crowd's actually peaceful. No shoving, just people having a good time. The noise? Mostly vendors shouting ads for their wares. The kid who was wailing earlier stops crying the second he gets a lollipop. Bianca suddenly sees everything through brand new eyes. And suddenly, Lala spots a doll sitting on the counter of one of the game booths. A guy named Robin volunteers to win a prize on the attraction and gets ready to play, rolling up his sleeves. The kid catches the mouse and nails the win, and Lala lets out a scream of pure joy. Bianca catches herself getting into it, cheering on with wide eyes, and now she's smiling softly at Lala, squeezing that precious doll to her chest. She feels a little piece of her somewhere deep down actually enjoying this. Ricardo admits he was afraid to suggest coming here together, thinking Bianca wouldn't fit in with this kind of fare. But lately, Bianca's changed so much, he figured what the hell, and now he's pretty sure he didn't. Then Ricardo thanks Bianca for coming along, completely throwing her for a loop. And while he's listening to the kids' requests, Bianca tries to wrap her head around how he's looking at her again, like he never has before. Suddenly, some guy barrels toward them looking all sketchy and thief-like. Bianca freezes, her heart pounding. Cries of "catch the thief" erupt from all sides as he sprints straight toward unsuspecting Nicole. He shoves her aside with a shout, yelling for her to get out of the way. Nicole screams and tumbles right into Ricardo, who just barely catches her. Ricardo asks Bianca to keep an eye on the kids. Before the girl can catch her breath, Ricardo's already chasing the thief down. A sudden realization hits the heroine, making her heart pound even harder. She leaves the kids with Peter and bolts after her fiancé. Bianca knows who the voice calling for help belongs to, and she's determined to stop them from running into Ricardo at all costs. Within moments, Lord Van Kaiser's got the thief pinned to the ground, screaming in pain. He begs for mercy, promising to give back what he stole. When Ricardo asks who the wallet belongs to, a redhead pushes through the crowd. She lunges at the thief, screaming that the cash was meant for her ailing mom's treatment. The moment Maria spots Ricardo, time seems to freeze. Then she shakes it off and thanks him. He hands her the wallet and asks if it's hers. Even as she says yes, Ricardo's suddenly on the fence, demanding proof. Maria plants her hands on her hips, furious he's accusing her of lying, just as Bianca steps into the scene. She's read these lines so many times she's got them memorized, and now they're coming true, word for word. Watching Ricardo hold the wallet hostage without proof, she starts to think, maybe this ending's set in stone no matter how hard she tries. Maria, blushing and hesitant, mumbles that her mom embroidered her name on the pouch. Bianca feels more and more like this was meant to happen. And right then, the red-haired girl tells Ricardo her name. The heroine's sure they're gonna fall head over heels for each other now. Staring at her fiancé, Bianca can't believe this guy's still gonna slit her throat, and there's nothing she can do about it. Meanwhile, Maria snatches Ricardo's wallet and asks what his name is. Even though the heroine's cheeks are already streaked with desperate tears, the guy suddenly spots her in the crowd and ignores her question. No matter how many times Bianca reads that cursed book, the future won't budge. She wants off this square fast. Ricardo's trying to figure out why the girl was crying. Today, she showed him new sides again, like her surprised face flipping to a smile out of nowhere. Not to mention how happy Bianca looked when Lala cradled that doll. Ricardo liked seeing her so full of life, but he sure didn't want to see tears in her eyes. Maria cuts in again, asking for his name so she can pay him back. Ricardo won't take her thanks no matter how she begs. If she's that dead set, she can help someone else and call it even. On the way home from the festival, Pani notices her mistress is upset about something. Bianca says she's fine, just a little dizzy. The maid suggests canceling your plans for tomorrow. But the heroine's still meeting the Marquis of Wensbury's daughter tomorrow, so she's not calling anything off. The next day, Maria shows up at the Crawford estate. Bianca's on edge but hides it, then motions for the girl to sit. The heroine eyes Maria. She tried to look put together, but her hair's a mess. Yeah, the girl's a bit trashy, but her face is pretty, her eyes are alive, and her smile's got that innocent kid vibe. Bianca's got nothing like that herself. Maria starts off by saying Lord Reynard Wensbury told her all about Lady Crawford. He said both his dad and him always talk about you, like you're this perfect lady she's supposed to copy. Funny thing is, Bianca's always been driven by wanting to be this perfect lady, this elegant duchess. Now this girl could shatter all that, ruin her future. Bianca can't just sit here and watch it happen. In Bianca's mind, she sees Maria sipping poisoned coffee, then dropping the cup. Maria starts choking, coughing, begging Bianca to spare her life. Bianca gets so lost in her thoughts the room falls silent. Maria checks in with Lady Crawford, who apologizes and rejoins the conversation. The girl explains she moved to the capital because of her mom's bad health. Maria would have stayed on the farm if she could have handled the treatments on her own. She smiles, thanks Bianca for the help, and dreams of one day doing the same for others. The heroine dryly notes she helps people not just out of kindness, but to look good in others' eyes. But Maria thinks that's exactly what being good means. In this harsh world, being a decent person is way harder than being cruel, but Lady Crawford keeps doing the right thing. That's what makes her truly good, the girl thinks. She passionately tells Bianca not to care what strangers say about her. Later, watching from the window as Maria climbs into the carriage, the heroine thinks how sweet the girl is. Bianca can't wrap her head around how her book character could have killed her. The heroine never lived someone else's script. She worked her butt off to get where she was. The next day, Bianca heads to talk to Ricardo about something huge. Lord Vincasser thinks he misheard her at first. But as the heroine repeats that she wants to break off their engagement, dark clouds seem to instantly gather over his head. The story takes us back to the main character's childhood, when Prince Asel jumped on Bianca, demanding she apologize for ruining his clothes. The girl clutched her hands anxiously, trying to convince him it wasn't her fault. Bianca did spill juice on the prince, but it was completely by accident. Suddenly, Ricardo steps into the argument, telling Asel to stop putting the girl in an awkward spot. Even though he offered his own clothes to the prince, sarcastically noting they'd fit poorly, Asel just wouldn't calm down. Just then, the butler shows up and saves the situation. Since Asel had to return, he promised Ricardo he'd get him back for it. As the prince walks away, Bianca turns to Ricardo and asks why he defended her. Ricardo apologizes to the girl for giving her a chair that was too low to sit comfortably. He drops to one knee in front of Bianca and, smiling, admits he should have paid more attention to this. Ricardo didn't even think about his guest, so he decided it was right to apologize to her. But her mom taught her that only losers say sorry, and a true lady never gets into situations needing it. Ricardo laughs and says she's already picked up a lot for someone so young. Then he adds she'll definitely grow into a real lady, and that makes her blush. That sweet, caring smile of his, probably why Bianca fell for Ricardo right there. She started dreaming about becoming a duchess and reaching that far. But now, becoming a duchess or marrying Ricardo isn't her top priority. So to change her destiny, she went to her fiancé to break off their engagement. After collecting his thoughts on the unexpected news, Ricardo reminds Bianca that it was her who wanted this. Back when they got engaged, they were too young. As a kid, all she could see was what was right in front of her, and she made a rushed decision. To Ricardo, that sounds like there wasn't any real sincerity in that decision. Bianca coldly responds that she just wanted to be a duchess. Being the daughter of a marquise, that social status really appealed to her. Now she realizes there's something more beautiful out there and wants to fix her past mistakes. Ricardo can't believe the suddenness of her words. They're like a bolt of lightning out of the blue, and he wants to know if another guy is involved. Bianca bristles at his doubt in her loyalty. Actually, Bianca didn't expect Ricardo's reaction. She thought he'd take the breakup in stride. He's the one who'd run off to another woman. Bianca isn't about to die, so she's willing to give him up to change her destiny. If she'd fallen for another guy, the breakup would make sense, Ricardo says. But Vincasser makes it clear this isn't happening. No way, no how, because he's got major stakes in that girl. So Ricardo's not calling off the engagement. Bianca freezes. This story just might have taken a new turn. She's got to check that ending. Maybe, just maybe, she and Ricardo actually end up together. Back home, she's sprinting to that cursed book. What if she's suddenly the main character now? She starts reading from where Maria begs Ricardo to say his name, but he won't see the point. But the girl who shook in her boots during her whole time in the capital, she starts developing feelings for the Lord. She's head over heels for Vincasser. And suddenly, Bianca, the ex-villain, is Ricardo's first love. Now she's the one poisoned by Maria, gasping for air as she collapses, powerless. She stands there, watching the dying woman with a heart as cold as ice. Bianca declares, not even this will change her feelings for Ricardo. Maria knows this, but figures everything's still under control. With a totally unhinged look, she says, if she can't win his heart, she'll take his body. No problem. After finishing the book, Bianca explodes. Why does she always die at the end, no matter how the story twists? The heroine doesn't know if it's a curse or divine will, but the world sure isn't going to calm down until she's dead. But the girl isn't about to throw in the towel. She's gonna do everything she can. Bianca drops by Maria's place unannounced, and Maria lights up, rushing over to greet her. They exchange greetings, both clearly thrilled to see each other. Maria's been wanting to invite Lady Crawford for tea herself, so she's extra glad to have her over. Settled into the garden pavilion, Bianca admits she was a little on the fence at first. Didn't want to overstep. But when she heard about your mom, she couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Had to come through and hand this over. Maria's eyes go wide as she opens the envelope, clueless what's inside. She smiles and says to take the gift, hopes it's not a burden for you. Inside is a letter of recommendation to get Maria's mom into St. Luminiki Hospital, tied to the convent that funds the Crawford estate. And while Bianca's sure the Wensberrys checked out top hospitals for treating TB, Dr. Kenwell's the best. But Maria's heard Dr. Kenwell doesn't take new patients. That's why Lady Crawford wrote the letter, hoping it'll get her mom on Dr. Kenwell's list. Maria's eyes well up, and she throws her arms around Bianca, thanking her with all her heart. Even though Crawford says not to thank her, Maria, happy to have helped, calls her a savior. Actually, this act eases some of the heroine's worries. Only a love-blinded beast could kill someone who helped his mother. The Wensbury Marquises approach the pavilion. The Marquise is thrilled to see Lady Bianca and her guest, though she wasn't told about the girl's visit ahead of time. The heroine apologizes for the impromptu visit, but the Wensburys are genuinely glad to see her after so long. The Marquise inquires about Bianca's parents' health and marvels at her incredible beauty. Then she adds that every time she sees such a sweet girl, she wishes she had a daughter instead of just a son. Bianca doesn't get why the Marquise said that, but she notices how unsettled it makes Maria. After all, although Maria is her stepdaughter, she's still her husband's illegitimate child. Still, that's no excuse for treating the girl that way. Marcus Wensbury took Maria in, and his wife will have to accept that. Grabbing Bianca by the hands, the Marquise declares that Reynard will be here soon, and they should meet before she leaves. She tells the girls not to waste time in the blazing heat and to come into the estate for tea. Staring at Maria, the woman asks what they were up to, and the girl visibly blushes. Bianca jumps to her defense, saying they already set up tea right here in the pavilion. The heroine says she loves chatting with Maria. When the Marchioness tries to get the girls to come inside, her husband slams his cane on the ground and declares he wants to soak up the sunshine. Spitting mad, she storms off, muttering about hoping they have a lovely chat with her precious daughter. She can feel how stuck Maria really is. Bianca can only imagine how much worse it's going to get once she's gone. The girl's got her heart swelling with pity. The Marquis joins the girls, thanking Bianca. Even though he hired a tutor, some lessons can only come from your own age group. The heroine says Maria's already surpassed all her expectations. The Marquis jokes that too much praise might go to her head, but Maria promises to keep pushing herself. Bianca listens in, trying to figure out how tight their bond really is. The Marquis reminds Maria about the upcoming debutante ball. She'd better start prepping. Maria hesitates, asking if they're rushing things. After all, she was just a commoner not long ago. But the Marquis isn't about to hear any more whining. At this pace, Maria won't make it into high society. Bianca clocks the tension in the girl's face and offers to help out. The debutante ball is where the upper-crust ladies get introduced to society once they turn 18. Big event, could be their shot at snagging a future husband. Usually, the girls get help from their moms, but not Maria. Given the Marchioness of Wensbury's attitude, this is going to be a total disaster. Bianca figures this could be her golden ticket. So she flashes a friendly smile and offers her help. Maria sits in her room, staring glumly in the mirror as she runs a brush through her hair. A sudden knock at the door. "Come in," she calls. Reynard stands in the doorway, checking in on Maria. "Almost ready," she replies. Reynard says their dad's worried about her finding a dance partner for the debutante ball. "Anyone on your mind?" Reynard asks. She just lowers her eyes silently. "Don't worry," he tells her. "I'll handle it if you can't." Maria doesn't know any eligible guys, and even if she did, their old man would never approve. Village boys aren't high enough status. "High society's got its rules," Reynard says. The proof lies in their father's relationship with Marie's mother. But her brother tells her not to worry, saying that if she's lucky, she'll end up marrying someone she actually likes. Hearing this, all Marie can think of is one person, the exact guy who caught the robber at the festival. The guard she talked to said it was the Duke's son. That means he'll be at the upcoming ball, and if Marie's lucky, he'll spot her and they can dance. She desperately wants to win his heart and clings to just a sliver of hope, like her mother did. But her thoughts drift so far she tries to shake them off. Bianca stares at Marie's outdated gown, straight from her grandma's era, with surprise. Still, Marie thinks it's beautiful. Though she'd love to pick this dress, the heroine insists it won't happen on her watch. Reynard sighs beside them, and Bianca asks if he wants to chime in. Under her glare, he blushes and admits he knows nothing about dresses. She says the dress doesn't suit them anyway, and tells Marie to change into the one she picked. Marie hesitates, and Bianca gives her a sharp nudge. Truth is, the heroine was happy to get out and clear her head. She can't stop thinking about it at home, especially after getting that letter. The Vinkaiser family offered the Crawfords to start prepping for their wedding, planned for about a month from now. Reynard cuts in, thanking her for helping his sister. He wanted to greet Bianca when she arrived at their estate, but missed her. Vows to make up for it next time. Proper hospitality, he promises. Bianca feels awkward with all the attention, but she still thanks him. Maria finally steps out of the fitting room wearing the dress Bianca picked for her. The heroine stares at her with such a look that Maria briefly thinks she's not impressed. But Bianca grins and says the dress is perfect. Maria's gonna be the ultimate debutante. Now all the heroine needs to do is hook Maria up with a partner. But Ricardo's the only guy she can imagine. If Bianca wants to survive, she's gotta push them together. And even though she knows that, for some reason, she just can't stop thinking she should be the one at Ricardo's side. The next day, Bianca meets up with the prince. Aisel's disappointed. After waiting forever for her, she shows up asking for fake documents. Bianca apologizes for letting him down. She slumps onto the couch and corrects Cecile. It's not about fake documents, it's about speeding things up. The prince playfully notes that Bianca's using him again, asking to relocate her sponsored shelter to a new building. Now he gets why the rumors are saying Bianca, high society's flower, has finally lost it. Crossing her arms over her chest, she declares she had no choice. The paperwork to switch buildings is a nightmare. That's why she's throwing a charity ball. She already promised the orphanage director she'd get it done. Cecile stares at her, then says thoughtfully, "She's not the Bianca he used to know." Bianca asks, "So how exactly does he see her now?" Even though the prince has no idea how to answer, he says he still likes her. Any version. Cecile sets his cup down and stands up. He walks over to Bianca and promises to do anything she asks, for one condition. He wants her to look at him the same way she looks at Ricardo. Bianca replies, "A perfect man like you can have anything he wants." But Cecile reminds her she still chose Ricardo. Bianca notices his expression is too dead serious for a joke. She never imagined someone as good-looking as Cecile could actually be petty. The prince slides into the seat across from the girl and, for the umpteenth time, urges her to call him by his name. Bianca stays quiet for a beat, but his expectant stare finally cracks her. She mutters, "Cecile." He winks at her and promises to do anything she asks from now on. That name he gave Bianca, like casting a spell. He swears her wishes will come true as long as she calls him Cecile. A wild idea suddenly hits the girl. A guaranteed way to rewrite her destiny might be sitting right in front of her, and she could choose a whole new path. Meanwhile, her fiancé, Ricardo, fixates on the wedding rings with an entranced glare. On the night of the ball, Maria asks Bianca if it's really him she's bringing along. Bianca fans herself and replies, "Exactly as I said." The girl's so nervous she doesn't know which way to turn. Maria can't believe it's real. She's convinced she's dreaming about Lord Vincazor escorting her to the ball. Bianca stands up, places a hand on the girl's shoulder, and tries to calm her down, repeating, "This is real, okay?" She says she knows Lord Vincazor personally and vouched for her. Honestly, it wasn't easy to convince Ricardo, but he finally caved in. Maria's thanking Lady Crowford, but she can't figure out how to ever repay her kindness. The girl admits that when they first met, Bianca came off as a bit cold and intimidating, but the more they talked, the more she saw how genuinely kind-hearted she really is. Ricardo walks in and catches the girls mid-conversation. He deadpans, "Are you two done yet? You ready to head out?" After a quick pause, Bianca steps in and introduces Ricardo to Maria, the girl she'd mentioned before. Then Bianca says to Maria, "You might want to introduce yourself to Sir Vincazor." Maria stutters through an introduction, fumbling over her words as she tells Ricardo, It's an honor to meet you." She brings up the festival incident where Sir Vincazor nabbed the guy who swiped her cash. Ricardo locks eyes with her, trying to place her. When it clicks, he finally places her, and Maria's stunned. She didn't think he'd remember her. It's like one of those fairy tales, you know, the kind where fate brings people together, and maybe she's actually gonna live happily ever after. Bianca hangs back, keeping quiet and letting the moment play out without stepping in. Out of nowhere, Ricardo says, "That's a really nice dress, by the way." A beat passes before Bianca realizes the line was meant for her. Maria backs up Sir Vincazor, repeating, "Yeah, Lady Crowford does look amazing." The heroine has no clue what Ricardo's trying to pull, and just then, someone else walks into the room. Turning around, everyone sees the prince standing in the doorway, here for Bianca, just like he promised. Cecile notices the tension and laughs, asking if they're happy to see him or what. Ricardo grabs Bianca's hand and snaps, "What did the prince mean by that promise?" The heroine tries to answer, but Cecile cuts her off. Stepping closer, he holds out his hand. "Shall we dance?" Now Bianca's stuck between the two men, each one gripping her hand. Young debutantes twirl with their partners on the dance floor. Bianca sits off to the side with Cecile, while nobles whisper in shock. The heroine's furious the prince messed this up with Ricardo, but he insists it was just a joke. Aesel leans in. You see Vinkazer's face? Total shock. He can't remember the last time he saw an emotion on that stone-cold face. Actually, it cracks him up a little. Bianca groans. Because of you, I've got to explain everything to Ricardo? The prince shrugs. Relax. Everyone knows Vinkazer's not your dance partner tonight. Someone else can step in. This definitely suits the crown prince best. I mean, they've got to keep up their image. Aesel's surprised that Ricardo's tagging along with that Wensbury Marquis's daughter who popped up out of nowhere, like someone's got him by the short hairs or something. He hands Bianca a sheet of paper he brought her as a little pick-me-up, trying to cheer her up. Bianca realizes these are the papers for moving the shelter to its new building and thanks the prince. She asks her maid Emily to take the documents to her room. Aesel stares at her for a moment, unblinking. Then he suddenly says, "You're a rare waste of beauty." Bianca's face lights up with color from the compliment. But the prince actually means it. Serving the young Crawford lady is part of his duty, and he sees it as a rare opportunity. Aesel stands up and offers Bianca a dance. That's what he meant by accompanying her, after all. Bianca replies she can't turn down the crown prince, then slips her hand into his outstretched palm. Just as they step onto the dance floor, the crowd erupts with the arrival of Lord Vinkazer and Maria from House Wensbury. Bianca turns to watch them descend the grand staircase. Maria's clearly on edge, glancing at Ricardo, but he's so lost in thought he might as well be ignoring her. Bianca overhears the crowd buzzing about the new face in high society. She gets it. Everything's finally starting to move. She tries to act like everything's fine, but catches Ricardo staring at her just then. Maria fumbles down the stairs, her ankle twisting, but Winkaiser grabs her before she hits the ground. She thanks him, her cheeks heating up from how close he is. Aesel says Maria and Ricardo look like a solid duo, but Bianca pretends not to care at all. Dancing with the prince, she realizes his words actually cut deeper than she thought. Asselblant notices Bianca's distracted expression and asks if she's okay. She's barely keeping up with the dance. His heart twists at the idea that his advisor might barge in any second to yank him away for duty. Even Assel says just dancing with her makes his pulse spike. Bianca teases that making women faint is clearly his thing. The prince winces, dreading the truth that it doesn't even work on her. If it did, he'd have named her his crown princess already. She looks away, snapping that you don't make jokes about stuff like this. Secretly, she's shocked at how Aesel always stays cool as a cucumber. Bianca wonders, would she even be the same if she became his crown princess? Could she stop living in fear someone'd snatch her spot or slip something in her drink? Asiel smiles and declares she's dead serious. If the Duchess title doesn't satisfy her, she can always come to him. He'll always be waiting. Bianca suddenly feels Ricardo's heavy stare, like she's some married woman cheating on her husband. The heroine thanks Asiel for the dance and asks to step away to touch up her makeup. The prince promises to wait for her right here, but as soon as he's alone, some lady sprints over. Asiel tries to dodge the conversation by saying Bianca, only to find she's vanished. Ricardo leaves his date in the dust and trails after the heroine. Meanwhile, the girl stands in front of the mirror, trying to steady her racing heart and get her thoughts in order. She tried to act like Ricardo dancing with another woman didn't faze her, but inside, her emotions were a hurricane. Maybe it was because the heroine was remembering the past. Bianca forces herself to gather her strength and keep pretending she's okay. The door clicks shut behind her and Ricardo steps into the room. Staring at the girl with intense seriousness, he says, "We need to talk." He demands to know why she asked him to chaperone Maria to the ball. According to Bianca, she was just trying to help a girl in a tough spot, that's all. But Winkaiser thinks her intentions are up to no good. She's saying she and Maria make a great team, and a bunch of people in the room think they're a solid couple, which really grinds Ricardo the wrong way. He asks if that's why she was with Aesel today, but she shoots back that the prince was just messing with him. Plus, Bianca didn't pick an escort because she knew she'd be swamped with event planning. But Ricardo's not buying it. She still ditched her fiancé for another woman so she could spend the night with another guy. Bianca's fuming. His words make it sound like she cheated or something. Winkaiser won't deny this is a total mess. She can't believe he's mad at her now. Ricardo has no idea how much she's been holding back. And then out of nowhere he asks why Bianca's acting like this. Thought he made his feelings crystal clear. Ricardo tells her to stop pretending she doesn't get that she's into him. He's got real feelings for Bianca and wants to marry her. But then Bianca drops the bomb. She doesn't love Ricardo and isn't sure he loves her either. She stares him down and challenges him to drop to his knees right now and vow his love. But Ricardo won't make life or death promises on a whim. Bianca gives it one last shrug. She gets it now and heads for the door. But suddenly, Ricardo stops her, grabbing her waist. He pulls her close and blurts out his feelings. He says she's the most special woman he's ever met. Ricardo grips her fingers and vows he'll stand by her. He wants to be her closest person. That's love, he says. The heroine freezes and whispers, "Don't do this, Ricardo." He's confused, but Bianca pulls away, standing with her head down. Bianca suddenly wonders, what if she really did love Ricardo? Then she'd ignore whatever's in that book and stop fearing death. But if she can't do it, she's no better than him. She left him to survive. She thinks they don't love each other. This could be the end. Back in the hall, Bianca asks the maid if anything happened while she was gone. She asks where Maria is and finally notices her standing there. The girl's off by herself. Clearly the others won't accept her. They're talking about how she has zero manners and shamelessly coveting someone else's spot. But just as Maria is about to fire back, someone cuts her off. Turning around, Lady Katie spots Bianca approaching and greets her with a smile. The girl gushes about the Crawfords' ball. Cutting through the small talk, she asks Katie what the hell's going on between the ladies. She says they were just chatting amicably, and she felt obligated to call out that mess. In Katie's view, that illegitimate country bumpkin was shamelessly flirting with a man who's already spoken for. She figures Bianca must have found it hard to watch. But now, after her words, Maria can't pretend she doesn't know what's going on. And if she has any sense of shame, she'll stop flirting with Viscount Vincazer's fiancé. Kate Conville, the Count's daughter, always trailed by her entourage, is a goldmine for gossip. She's usually been a helpful ally to Bianca, but this time, she tripped up. Maria shouldn't have known about their engagement. Without knowing, she'd have done anything for him. Glaring at Katie, the heroine declares there's been a misunderstanding. She was the one who asked Ricardo to accompany Maria, and contrary to what it might look like, she wasn't the least bit concerned. The conversation catches Aisel's attention. He watches with a smile. Bianca keeps pushing Lady Kate, hinting she might think there's some kind of falling out with Ricardo because of her own shortcomings. The girl nervously insists otherwise, saying she never even thought such a thing. So Bianca then asks if Kate thinks Lord Vincazer would betray her trust and fall for someone else. That completely catches the girl off guard. She admits her mistake and swears she never meant to dishonor either of them. She apologizes for the trouble and quickly hurries off with her friends. Watching them leave, the heroine wonders how she can fix this now. She turns to Maria and asks if they can talk. The girl avoids looking Bianca in the eye but meekly agrees. They step out onto the balcony to talk in private, away from prying eyes. The heroine's plan is down the drain. Now she's determined to fix everything. But before she can say a word, Maria starts congratulating her on the engagement. After giving the congratulations, she hopes it didn't come out weird. She's never been great with the right tone. Bianca stares at the girl in surprise as she apologizes for the late congratulations. She explains she accidentally kept it a secret. Since she thought Maria wanted Lord Vincazer to accompany her, she tried to set her up with an amazing partner. The heroine says she was scared to bring it up before in case it hurt the girl's feelings or messed up her debut. But to Bianca's shock, Maria grabs her hand and says with a gleam in her eyes that this was the best debut ever. The heroine can't believe the girl isn't mad at her. If not for her, she and the Lord might have been together. Maria's stunned by those words and begs her to stop. She and Ricardo look like they were made for each other. She admits Lord Vincazer is the most perfect, charming man she's ever met. A noble knight who helps people without asking for anything in return. But Maria can't stay mad at Bianca. Since she likes Ricardo, Crawford didn't even notice. Instead, she tried to make the girl happy memories, so now she likes her even more. Ricardo notices Bianca talking to Maria on the balcony. He walks over just as Miss Wensbury tells the heroine how much she admires her. Ricardo gives Bianca a sharp look and asks if he needs to do anything else. The heroine looks away, flustered, and thanks him for everything he's done. When he asks if Bianca has anything more to say, she says no. Ricardo says he'll be off then. Maria notices the tension between them and hopes they'll sort it out. But the heroine doesn't know how to fix Ricardo's dumb idea that she's in love with him. As Vincazer steps off the balcony, he runs into Reynard at the door. Reynard's been scouring the place for his sister, so when he spots her here, he hurries over to the girls. Reynard heard there was some kind of incident in the hall and was worried about Maria. He lets Lady Crawford know the ladies have already left. However, before he can finish, Bianca bolts. She'd forgotten she needs to announce the ball is wrapping up. Maria calls out to the heroine, gratitude shining in her eyes. Looking at this girl, Bianca realizes she just can't bring herself to hate her. Back home, Bianca grabs the book from the shelf again. It's glowing once more. Figuring something's shifted in the story, she flips through to find the right chapter. She reads how Maria clutches a poison vial, tears streaming down her face, eyes wide with terror as she stares at Lady Crawford. The girl, bloodied and trembling, insists it's a misunderstanding and starts to explain about her mother. But before she can finish her side of the story, Bianca's life fades away. Bianca slams the book shut, furious. It's the same ending again, but Maria's mother keeps gnawing at her thoughts. Crawford rereads the story, realizing the girl killed her out of vengeance. Last time, Maria poisoned her to be with Ricardo, so Bianca stayed kind to stop it. But now that she's into this girl, the story changes. She offers her to get revenge for her mom. Then the story loops. Maria stays with Ricardo after Bianca's gone to comfort him. But the heroine calls it a load of crap. She'd never kill anyone. And even in the book, she said it was a misunderstanding. Means someone took out Maria's mom and pinned it on Bianca, who everyone thinks is the villain. Maria can't crack the high society scene, illegitimate status, bad manners, and too much of that innocent vibe. The heroine knows it doesn't matter who's plotting against her, long as she doesn't give Maria a reason to question her. So Bianca's calling it, no stepping outside that hospital where the girl's mom's getting treated. Maria's not hiding her shock. There's Lady Crawford in the hospital she came to visit her mom. She's all smiles introducing her benefactress to this woman. Maria's mom beams at Bianca, says she's thrilled they met. Even though that cursed book's endings keep changing, the heroine always meets her doom. No way to sit this one out. So she's going all in on acting natural, friendly, and no accidental missteps. The woman walks up to Lady Bianca, eyes glowing with excitement. She says Maria's been singing Lady Crawford's praises non-stop, how amazing she is. She also knows it's all thanks to Bianca she can get treatment in a place like this. Today there's a charity event at the hospital, and the heroine came here on her parents' behalf, who got summoned to the Imperial Palace. Maria finds out from a nurse that the Crawford family hosts this event every year as a festival. On this day, the nobility gathers for tea in the reception hall. Meanwhile, commoners are enjoying the market stalls in the garden. Bianca is flustered by how excitedly Maria talks about her family's charitable efforts. Since Lady Crawford is visiting the hospital for the first time, the girl offers to tag along. She figures there's a chance to have some fun and they might actually enjoy themselves. Bianca knows she really needs to stay close to Maria right now to avoid getting blamed if something goes sideways. So the heroine accepts the girl's offer, mainly so she can shield her mom from danger. Meanwhile, the Marquis and Marchioness Crawford are at the Imperial Palace. Empress Splendor Mayim Cartagento summoned them in person. With a frosty glare at the Crawfords, she cuts them off and says she's giving their daughter one last shot at joining the imperial family. The couple gapes at Her Majesty, stunned into silence. The Marquis stammers an apology, saying he thought they were done hashing out the marriage talks with His Highness 10 years ago. She fires back with a story about a new rumor she just caught wind of, something that definitely wasn't settled. According to this info, at the Crawford family's last charity gala, Lord Vincasor was seen with another lady. Lady Bianca didn't react at all, and by all accounts they're calling it quits soon. Though the Marquis insists it's nonsense and claims they've been talking to the Vincasor family about a marriage deal, the Empress says you can never be 100% sure with these kids. Even though Mayim's making this request on behalf of the imperial family, she doesn't want them to feel like she's pushing too hard. If Lady Bianca says no, the Empress will back off. But for now, she just wants the girl to visit the Crown Prince. She thinks the Crawfords should rethink their decision for their daughter's own good. She could still take the Crown Princess spot that's still open. Meanwhile, Bianca's hanging out at the festival with Maria and her mom. Bianca's surprised to see how often Maria grabs a bite with her mom right here at the hospital instead of at the Wensbury house. All three stroll around, browsing the market stalls, keeping up a light, easy conversation. Feeling things are going well, Bianca asks the woman how she's doing. She says she's been doing a lot better lately. There was a time she could barely walk. Bianca figures they should get out more often, but Maria replies she doesn't have much free time, so the mom often goes for walks on her own when Maria's not around. The woman shows the girls the church near the hospital where she goes to pray. There are plenty of people around, and if needed, she can ask for help. Plus, the nuns at the church are super attentive. Maria's mom is trying to convince Bianca she's safe here, but Bianca notices the hospital director rushing toward them. The out-of-breath guy calls out to Lady Crowford. He apologizes for not coming sooner, saying he thought Bianca would come upstairs herself. When asked if there were any festival issues, he says everything's smooth sailing. Just saw a girl hanging around street vendors and wanted to confirm the coast was clear. There's a ton of common folk and kids around. The heroine is confused, since Maria's a noble now too. Then it hits her. Bianca's hiding her rank when visiting her mom. Bianca tells her mom and daughter to forgive her for bailing to check on the tea party. The heroine just had a wild realization that's why she didn't want to meet Maria's mom in the first place. Maggie Villoni's never mentioned in this book. She was just a background extra. Bianca tells Payne to stick around Maria and her mom and make sure they don't stir up trouble. She needs to warn the hospital staff to stay sharp and not mess up, dangling a fat paycheck in front of them. The heroine's also planning to hire bodyguards. Maggie's alive, so Maria's got no excuse to kill her. That's why she's all in on keeping this woman from dying. Later that night, some guys filling teacups with tea. A guy asks Maggie, who's standing by the window, about the event today. She tells him it was a blast. Since she's coughing, he hands her a mug. Drink up before the tea goes cold. He plops down beside her. Focus on getting better, Maggie. Let's finish that conversation we started last time, he says. Maggie frowns. Wait, what were we on about? Bianca sits in a garden gazebo with her parents. Since they haven't had tea together in ages, Bianca ordered her mom's favorite cookies and brought her parents outside. She didn't forget her dad. She prepped a separate box for him to snack on while working in his office. Her parents are stunned. This bakery only takes pre-orders, so Bianca's gesture meant serious effort. Bianca grins. I'll get more if you guys dig it. Lately, every time she picked up that book, her stomach turned. Used to be her favorite cozy read. But now she can't even start new stories. She keeps circling back to this one. Bianca didn't sleep last night. Checked the novel's updates every 5 minutes. Her mom notices her distant stare. You okay, sweetheart? She's lost weight, looks ghost pale. Her mom's eyes are full of worry. Bianca waves it off. I'm fine. Let's talk about something else. Parents exchange tense glances, ready to drop some big news on their daughter. They tell her about their recent visit to the Empress and what they discussed. The next day, Bianca rushes over to His Highness, the Crown Prince. He greets her with a grin, waves her to sit, and yells for the maids to bring out the best snacks. As they settle in, Bianca sighs. Aesel smirks, already knowing she's here because his mom sent her. He tells her to make herself comfortable. This is going to be a long chat. Once the maids set up the table and leave, the prince starts by apologizing for his mom's meddling. Bianca admits she was just as shocked as her parents when she heard about the proposal. Aesel laughs it off, talks about them getting married were dead and buried a decade ago. Even as she apologizes, the prince presses her. What exactly is she sorry for? For rejecting him all those years ago? Or for screaming in his face that she'd never marry him? Bianca tells him to stop, but he insists it's not fair to address him that way. But Bianca's sharp in social situations, he didn't expect anything different from her. She lets out a heavy sigh, setting her teacup down hard. Then Aesel drops a bomb. He heard she's been cutting ties with Lord Vincaser. Bianca freezes. According to him, word's already spreading about it, but he's known since the night he took Bianca to the ball. The heroine looks away and insists their relationship with Ricardo is where it's always been. No issues there. Aesel locks eyes with her and points out that this isn't healthy. In his opinion, their dynamic should have evolved after 10 years of being engaged, but Bianca argues that no relationship can avoid conflicts for such a long stretch. The prince asks if she knows why he never gave up on her, even though she was already promised to someone else. Their bond with Ricardo isn't terrible, but it's not exactly picture-perfect either. Aesel just doesn't sense love, desire, or passion from either of them. He's watched them both for 10 years. If he'd thought he had zero shot, he wouldn't have held out hope, so Aesel always figured he'd get his shot eventually. He smirks and tells Bianca Victory Day is coming up. The Empress wanted to ask her to personally name Aesel during the night's ceremony. Though it's technically the Emperor's family's duty, Bianca has the right to do it. After all, she's also the commander of the knight's fiancé. But the heroine worries people might misread it and assume she's being crowned princess. Aesel knows this'll also spark rumors about Bianca and Ricardo's future. Still, the prince wants it to happen. He's gonna lay it all out there for the girl and tell her he wants to steal her away from Ricardo. The heroine freezes, then suddenly realizes this might actually be her shot. The book dragging her toward death? It's all about the villainess obsessed with stealing Ricardo's love. But if she can break this pattern, the curse might lift, and she skips out on the whole dying thing. So she tells Aesel straight up, he's gonna have to take down the Winkaser family. The prince is thrilled, she thinks it's doable. Don't worry, he says, we can hold the family accountable for letting their son's bride rot in the background. Thing is, Ricardo's Aesel's buddy, so he's not exactly eager to pick a fight. The Empress is planning to spread a rumor. The crown princess has already been picked. Aesel shuts that down. At the ceremony, they'll announce Bianca's there as the Lady Commander of the Knights. But won't that ruin everything? He's asked. The prince smirks. I've waited 10 years for a girl. I can wait a little longer. Bianca stares at him, thinking maybe this is the love she's dreamed of, a blazing romance built on total devotion. When the prince kisses her hand, Bianca thinks, man, wouldn't it be something if Ricardo were half this romantic? But then Ricardo pops into her head, and suddenly she's apologizing to Aesel. Anyone but me could give you the love you deserve, she realizes.